Welcome to Reclaiming My Life, the podcast where we explore the journey of breaking free from limiting beliefs, finding your truth, and reclaiming the life you are meant to live. I'm Diane Green, here to guide you through honest conversations, personal stories, and transformative insights. Whether you're deconstructing religion, redefining your spirituality, or simply seeking freedom and clarity, this is the space for you. And today, we're going to be talking with Rock. Hey, Rock, how are you?
Good morning. Good morning. Let's get the energy going.
I'm
Nothing but
glad that
sunshine and flowers.
Yeah, I'm so happy to have you here on the show with us today. And
Thank you for having me.
so I don't know a lot about you. I found you on TikTok, and I see you at some of the lives that I follow, that I watch on a daily basis. I'm kind of addicted to the TikTok lives about deconstructing, and I started with Thinker, and then a lot of the other ones that I watch now, and that's where I saw you. I don't think I've actually seen any of your lives. I don't know if you get on it, if you do it at a time when I'm not available, or what. I don't know if you get on regularly or if you just jump on here and there. So
Well, I'm pretty sporadic to be honest. I could never let them know my next move.
okay,
Um, but yes, I do move around in a lot of our deconstruction communities with Thinker and Bash, Christina Carroll,
yeah,
uh, Ty the Goddess. Um,
yeah,
just some of the greats. That's not all of them. It's a lot of great people in the deconstruction community
hmm,
that have a lot of very valuable information. Um, I guess a little bit about me. Um, I am 40 years old. I'm a 40-year-old dad. Um, got a couple of degrees and different things like that I've done in life. You know,
okay,
um, but for the most part, I started deconstructing about maybe a year and a half or so ago. Um, and I'm pretty comfortable in my deconstruction at this point. I love the
okay,
conversations, um, and I love the information.
hmm,
So
hmm,
yeah,
yeah. So tell us about your your church upbringing. Tell us about um, how did you grow up in church? Were you in a very religious family? Tell us about that.
I definitely grew up in church. Grandma, moms, aunties, uncles. Um, so definitely have a strong church background.
Hmm,
Of course, much of my family now is still very much into church. Um,
hmm,
Not so much me at this point, of
yeah.
course, but I respect people's beliefs, no matter who it is. I went to a Baptist church. I was raised in a Baptist church, so that was a lot of hot, sweaty days. Almost with a fan in the window type of church. Uh,
Yeah,
a
all
lot of
day,
hooping and hollering.
and they're all day long.
Yeah, all day long, all day waiting for the
Yeah,
last song to come on. So you just get me out of here, okay?
yeah.
Get me
I had a friend tell me
get
one
out.
time. She said, "I can't." It was the Hudson guy. You talking about I got to get up out of here? What's his name? Not Emmanuel.
I forget his name
It's
too,
his
but
brother, Emmanuel's brother. I got
he
to get
is
up out of here.
hilarious.
Yes,
He is. I gotta get
yes, yes. He cracks me up. But yeah, I had a friend tell me one time. She said, "I can't come to your church." She said, "I would have to pack a lunch, and a couple of bottles of water, and a blanket." And like she was like, "I cannot come to your church because."
can't do it. Cannot do it. Cannot do it.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, you know how
So
Baptist churches are.
yeah, and then you got to go back to the evening service too.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the 2-3 services thing was never for me.
yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
I tried it for a little while at another church that I went to, but
Hmm. Yeah, I can remember, when I lived in Alabama, we'd have the morning service and then we'd go home and eat. sometimes we would just have food there. We would just have food there at the church, or we'd run down to the gas station and grab some chicken or something, and then load up on the van to go to the next church. Yeah. Yeah, my kids, I put my kids through all of that. So I've got a 12-year-old now that's upstairs asleep. She don't know what she missed. Well, she was a baby. She was going through that as a baby, but she doesn't remember any of that. But
That is too funny.
yeah, but all the rest of the kids, and none of them go to church now. They're not deconstructing like me. They're just like we don't have to go to church anymore. We're adults now. We don't have to go to church. We're not going.
Okay.
Yeah. So you're in church all the time when you were younger, growing up, and so um, tell me how you got to the point of deconstructing.
The point of contention for me, when I feel like I really first started deconstructing was I listened to a guy named Ray Hagen. I think he's on YouTube, if you ever heard of
Hmm.
him.
Hmm.
And he spoke this really profound message. He sounded like a preacher, only he wasn't preaching what you would normally hear from a preacher. Uh,
Hmm.
he preached a message called um, "Jesus is not coming back," and of course, that hit me a certain way.
Yeah.
Um, and it's all of the questions came. Why? Why would you say that? Why wouldn't you believe
Yeah.
that? How did you get to
Yeah.
this point? So that I think really kind of put a kick into my deconstruction, and it got my mind going, and I was all over the place from there. And yeah,
Yeah.
that kicked it off.
Yeah. So what was he saying that made you start questioning?
So he talked a lot about how the Bible in its origins were pretty much usurped in a sense from um other religious beliefs.
Hmm.
Um in how the black community underwent this huge indoctrination wave, right? Of course, coming out of slavery and different things like that, and how it just didn't add up. He had taken a bunch of journeys to, Egypt and different places like that and researched
Yeah.
the information. And of course, he was one of those people that said once he got there and started researching the information, those people over there didn't, believe that.
Hmm.
And so, of course, that hit him a certain way because he was researching, right? The intent to prove something true only to find out that it's false
Yeah.
would definitely uproot your belief or at
Right.
least make you question it. So he
Right.
dug into that a lot. And the initial message didn't have a lot of information. It just was jarring, right?
Hmm.
To your belief system to actually hear somebody say something like that. So
Hmm.
for me, it shook some stuff loose. So
Yeah. Yeah. So as an adult, I mean, were you like a regular church goer? Were you in church every Sunday? Were you in Bible study on Wednesday night? Like, how involved were you with church prior to this?
so prior to that, I would go to church regularly. Um, not so much like every day, but
Hmm.
get your Sundays. At one point, I was, helping with the youth,
Hmm.
um, kind of doing some praise and worship, different things like that in the church. So I had a pretty good relationship with a couple of different churches.
Hmm.
That was very impactful.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was
Yeah.
there. I sung the songs, I did the dances.
Yeah.
Um, it
Yeah.
was what it was.
So when you started questioning, did you go like to your pastor and say anything to him?
Um, I did, but I didn't go about the initial deconstruction. I went to the pastor about something that I had heard, that I thought was completely absurd. Like just
Mhm.
the absurdity of it was ridiculous.
Mhm.
Uh, but when I couldn't get answers and I was kind of shunned off, that knocked another nail out of the, you know,
Yeah. Yeah. Put another nail in the coffin. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
like so it wasn't a place where I could get answers,
Mhm.
um, or get, any confirmation, um, or validation for those type of questions. And
Yeah.
to me, that was just it wasn't acceptable.
Yeah. I had a conversation with someone, a loved one, not too long ago, and it was just they asked me if I started my podcast, and I told them yes, and I said, but it's not something that you want to watch, and I told her what it was about, and she was like, well, for me, I think it's just a personal thing. It's just a matter of faith, and it's like, but what they don't understand is where did that come from? Like, where did this personal relationship and this faith that you speak of, how did it start? Where did it come from? It came from a preacher telling you and the Bible. And if you study where the Bible came from, or if you study it, like you said, and you learn that the history of the Bible, and you learn that a lot of this stuff came, is plagiarized from ancient texts and whatnot, then what? If you take the time to realize that, then where do you go from there with your faith? You can There's nowhere to go with that. But they're not going to take the time. Most people are not going to take the time to do that because they don't want to lose their faith. They're afraid of losing their religion. So they're not going to take the time to do those things. But for me, I wanted to know the truth. Like, if I've been duped all these years, I want to know what's true, and I'm going to take the time to try to figure that out. And but not everybody wants to do that. I think some people are afraid to have their faith shaken because some people really think that they can't be a good person if they don't have that if that faith confining them. They don't trust themselves to not be a good person without it. Isn't that crazy? But it's true.
That is crazy. That is crazy. It,
Yeah.
I think what I see a lot now as I look at it through a different lens is we are much comfortable believing beautiful lies
Hmm.
because it makes us feel better. That harsh truth is a place of challenge, right? It
Yeah.
challenges the way you think. It challenges what you actually know, and it helps
Hmm.
you separate what you think you know and what's actually true, right? What you
Hmm.
believe and what's true. And I've said that before on my lives, on TikTok, um, that a lot of us have traded in, right, a harsh truth for a beautiful lie so that we can
Hmm.
keep our head in the sand and we don't have to deal with the actual
Hmm.
facts.
Yeah.
That's a real thing in real life,
Yeah.
not just in religion.
Yeah.
Um, and I think for a lot of people, it ties into that uncompromising fear of death and what happens after that.
Yeah.
For a
That
lot of
too.
us, death is very scary. It's a very you know, shaken cup that many people don't want to drink from because of all of the unknowns, right? And
Hmm.
that we've yet to find out, which we probably won't find out. That'll be a bridge we have to cross when we get there. It's something I dealt
Yeah.
with, I still deal with.
Hmm.
How to reconcile, how I deal with my untimely demise. It's
Yeah.
coming. It's nothing we can do about it, but it's not at this point for me a place where I'm willing to give up my ability to accept truth of that I have right now for possibilities of something I have no idea about. And I
Yeah.
don't want that fear to control me in this
Yeah.
life.
Hmm. Yeah. I
Hopefully I
mean,
said
and
that.
yeah, yeah. And when you when you do take off those Christian glasses and you really look and think about it, like, what is it about heaven that we'd want to go to anyway? What is so exciting about the biblical heaven that we actually want to be there? There's nothing there that I would want.
But yeah. it- but it comforts people, right? It makes
It
people
does.
feel better. Sometimes
Yeah.
feeling better isn't always actually better,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But it helps people feel better about it's almost like a remedy for the unknown of
Mhm.
what happens after this. And so
Mhm.
it's used to control people in this, in the
Yeah.
current this.
Yeah.
And that's why it can become harmful for people to um kind of stick their head in the sand. And as long as I don't look, right, as long as
Yep.
I don't have to see it, then I don't have to deal with it, and I can just be in my nice little comfort zone. When I die, I'm going to this
Mhm.
magic heaven in the sky that
Mhm.
I don't believe exists anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. But like you said, it is a matter of comfort because having an idea of that is better than having the unknown. People don't like the unknown, so that makes it better. But you know, like I said a minute ago, I would rather know the truth than just to deal with that lie. Like, I'll deal with the consequences of the truth, but I don't think that the consequences is going to be hell because I don't believe in hell either. So I'm in a place that it's like I feel comfortable and believe in whatever or not believe in whatever I don't want to believe. Like nobody's going to send me to heaven or hell. There's no heaven or hell to be sent to. So I can research, I can dig, I can look, I can believe whatever I want to believe without fear of any type of punishment eternally or anything like that. So that's kind of where I am. So you said that it's been about a year and a half and that you're comfortable with it. Did you have a hard struggle with it in the beginning?
Initially, I did. Initially, it was, again, like I said before, it's very jarring, because it's going to uproot some things
Mm-hmm.
that you initially thought was very solid. So initially, I did struggle with it. The questions, the fear,
Yeah.
the answers, that I started to get, because a lot of the times as Christians, you're not even supposed to question that stuff. Questioning it
Mm-hmm.
even feels bad. So
Mm-hmm.
speaking against it is absolutely
Yeah.
crumbling to
Mm-hmm.
something inside of you.
Yeah.
But like I said, once that information hit, something in there broke. Right, something in here broke that I couldn't quite put back together without the truth.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You hand me something true, then I can take it. But I
Mm-hmm.
can't just close my eyes and pretend like I see something that I don't.
Mm-hmm.
So that's just honestly me as a person in life too, not
Yeah.
even just with religion. Like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna give me my veggies first, type of person. Give me the
Mm-hmm.
hard part first.
Yeah. I think a lot of Christians just they don't really even read the Bible for themselves, so they don't even know the question. And I think even though I taught the Bible, I think I just stayed really surfacey on the Bible. Like I use like Bible study lessons and things like that to teach. So therefore I wasn't digging into a lot of the things that I've learned now that are in the Bible. And I think that's the thing with most Christians is they're not really digging into the Bible and they're not and then of course too, like I said, having these rose colored glasses on when it comes to Christianity, they're not, when you read something, they just kind of explain it away and they don't really see it for what it is. And then, that's why the TikTok lives have helped me a lot because it's just a lot of stuff that I never really saw or thought about that's in the Bible. Um, and I think that's the case for a lot of Christians, most Christians.
Very
So
true.
I don't,
Very true.
yeah. And yeah.
Well, to agree with what you're saying, right? We have a lot of different platforms now. Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, TikTok, Twitter. I guess it's X now, whatever. But
Mm-hmm.
with the growth of these platforms comes information, right? Of course, there's going to be some bad information in it,
Mm-hmm.
but also we can connect on an international level and a national level, and get information where we normally wouldn't have been able to get that information and be able
Yeah.
to have these conversations with people who have that extensive, in-depth knowledge,
Mhm.
who've done the research, they've put in the work. Like you talked about Thinker. Thinker is my favorite person on TikTok. The number
Mhm.
one numero uno because she has so much research, so
Yeah.
many resources,
Mhm.
um, and she stands on such a solid ground. It makes the rest of us feel comfortable too,
Right.
being in her space.
Right.
Um, so I 100% agree with you that these platforms and being on TikTok has opened up a lane for us to get questions answered
Mhm.
and get access to the information and connect, with people who have that information.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So, what about your family, your children? Like, how old are your kids?
So I have 13-year-old, 12-year-old, 11-year-old, 6-year-old, and a 2-year-old.
Oh wow.
Don't shoot me. I know.
It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. I mean,
um,
I've got children from the age 12 up to 31. So I've got six, and they're from 12 to 31. Yeah.
I'm not ready for no adult yet. I'm not ready. Cause listen, okay, the challenges. But
Yeah.
as far as family, and kids, um, my kids more so, I can start there. They've definitely been indoctrinated. Um, but I don't think that they have a foundational understand like a fundamental understanding of the belief because Christianity
Hmm.
doesn't work that way. It gives you the practices, it gives you the belief first, and then you
Yeah.
get the information later on, um,
Yeah.
which is part of the problem with these types of belief systems. So now
Hmm.
my kids, they will ask me questions. A lot of the times they do hear me having conversations such as these or on a TikTok live. And sometimes they even sneak into my TikTok lives. Get them out of there, okay? Um, but so yeah, they'll ask the questions and I try to just like everything else in life, I try to be as honest as possible. And as transparent so that they will have that same critical thinking, thought process.
Hmm.
Again, not just with religion, but everything in life.
Everything. Yeah.
So, and when all else fails, listen, you stand on the truth. When you don't have
Hmm.
anything else, you don't have another lane, just be honest.
Hmm. Hmm.
Simple as that.
Yeah.
So I'm
So
honest with
what?
them.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, are they? Um. So I mean, how do they feel about it? I mean, are they? Do they go to church? Like, because like my 12-year-old, she still goes to church. She just happened to not want to go this morning, but she does still go to church with her dad and whatnot. Um. So are they still like going to church or
No, we don't go to
no?
church.
Don't go to
We don't go to
church.
church.
Okay.
Um,
Okay.
my oldest son, he does. He is Jehovah's Witness, of course, by
Oh,
default.
okay.
So
Okay.
that is a challenge for him sometimes.
Yeah.
Um,
Because they
because
excommunicate you if you're not a Jehovah's Witness.
they will excommunicate you.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, you know, come Christmas and birthdays and 4th of July, listen, it's lit. He's not missing any parties, okay? And his
Okay.
mom not gonna let him miss no parties. Okay,
Okay.
you're gonna get something good, go with your dad. All right.
Okay. Well, good. Good for her. Yeah.
Yeah, so how deep they are, I don't know, but I do know that we've struggled at some points with the relationship between, my time as a dad and the things that I need to instill in him. Um, mindsets that we need to exercise versus the religious side of it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I don't fight against that as much as I used to because I time it, right? And I'm giving
Mm-hmm.
him an opportunity to be able to see the world holistically, see it
Yeah.
all, see it all. I don't want you to just have my perspective, see that too,
Yeah.
right? when you find yourself in a situation that you have to draw from your experiences and your knowledge, right? I want you to be able to use everything that is available to you to make the right decision, the best
Mhm.
decision you can make at that time with your integrity, your dignity, and your respect still intact on the other side
Mhm.
of that decision.
Mhm. That's good. Yeah, that's good. And I mean, it's good that, that she is allowing him also to experience other things and not just trying to confine him just to being a Jehovah's Witness. Because, like you said, he missed out on birthdays and Christmas and all of that. And I mean, which I kind of went through that phase where I didn't want to celebrate stuff, but I wasn't doing Jehovah's Witness. I was doing a Hebrew thing. That was kind of, I got here by way of Hebrew Israelite. I only did that. That was probably 6 months. I don't know. It didn't last, but that's kind of, it went from the non-denominational church to this Hebrew thing briefly, and then so the Hebrew thing, I totally got rid of the New Testament. So then after I totally got rid of the New Testament, then I picked apart the Old Testament. So it's like, okay, well, this don't sound right either. And so I got out of that. That was very brief, very brief.
Yeah. I mean, we still struggle with it because, she'll drop some Jehovah's Witness stuff in there every now and then.
Yeah.
Although we don't have to communicate as much.
Yeah. Cause he's
He's
older.
he a big boy now.
Yeah.
But she'll still, throw that
Hmm.
narrative in there and try to, you know, install that Jehovah's Witness belief
Yeah.
system. I just sidestep it, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and again, let him do his thing. But we, have a pretty good relationship, so
It's good.
we'll continue to have a good
Yeah.
relationship. So
So
yeah,
I,
she's not really with it, but like
mhm.
I said, when those holidays hit, okay, that
Yeah,
Jehovah Witness go out the window.
out the window. So, have you had any challenges beyond with the children and whatnot, beyond that, as far as relationships and situations since you start deconstructing?
Um, as far as family,
Yeah.
oh, for sure. So having a heavily indoctrinated religious family, um, those conversations do tend to come up. So we've had a big blowout, once. um, and people get highly emotional, so it's supercharged
Yeah.
when you start having these conversations.
Yeah.
And that's fine. Um, it didn't really honestly spread, like that because it was a small room. Outside of that, I haven't had a lot of challenges with my family because I don't really have, those conversations
Hmm.
amongst my family. Deconstructing is a very isolating
Hmm.
event for me. Initially, even coming into now, I just don't have those conversations because my family is so religious.
Right.
And I don't want to um, start to put cracks in the relationships with some of my favorite aunties and uncles.
Yeah.
Um, you know, rest in peace, my grandma.
Hmm.
She was the original indoctrinator. So
Yeah.
she slapped the Vaseline on something and took us to church. I would never have that. I would have never had that conversation with my grandma under any
Right.
circumstance
I understand that.
at all. Okay,
Yeah. Yeah.
because
Yeah.
it's not that she probably would physically slap me, but I wouldn't do that just because of our relationship and how I want to
Hmm.
maintain it. I don't want it to be built
Hmm.
on religion, but I also don't want it to be torn apart by religion. So
Right. That's understandable. That's understandable. So, at this point, what are your beliefs now? Like, what are you when you deconstruct it? Do you consider yourself atheist? Are you, did you, uh, are you still some type of theist, or where are you now as far as that goes?
I
Or are
would
you still
definitely
just trying to figure
consider
that out?
myself. No, I would definitely consider myself an atheist. At this point, I don't hold to any religious beliefs
Hmm.
um, or anything like that. I'm still gathering a lot of information. I feel like I have a lot of information, but I also feel like there's a lot of information that I don't have too.
Yeah.
So I'm always open to learning, um, even from Christians or other belief systems, whatever information that they have. I'm always willing to listen. And
Mm-hmm.
if you have a match that can strike, okay, then we can have that discussion. Um, but a lot of the times it's just not there, and there's no way to force it to be there for me
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
because, like I said, I can't do that. So now I don't hold to a particular belief system at all. Nothing,
Okay.
nothing for me there.
Yeah. Yeah. So what do you when you on your TikTok lives, are your lives about always about deconstruction, or you talk about other things on there as well?
My
Is it?
lives are always about deconstruction. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes we will have a bit of a debate, right? It turns into a little bit of a debacle because the conversations are so emotionally charged. And
Mm-hmm.
anytime you put that out there on a public platform, it's like setting a landmine for people, right? So somebody's gonna come in and step on it, and it's gonna go up.
Yeah.
Um, but I try to focus more so on like the mental health side of deconstruction because I know it can be um very, again, isolating. It can
Mm-hmm.
be confusing,
Yeah.
um,
It's traumatic. It can be traumatic for some. Yeah.
traumatic. It can
Yeah.
be very traumatic.
Mm-hmm.
So I try to just kind of get into those conversations with people in the community to just kind of see where we are.
Yeah.
Right? Let's check our headspace. Let's make sure that we haven't completely come apart in the midst of our question.
Mm-hmm.
So I like to do that, and I like to give people in the community that space to be able to tell their stories or ask questions or connect with other people who have those same questions,
Mm-hmm.
um, and offer any information that I have. So
Mm-hmm.
it's very therapeutic on one side.
Yeah.
On the other side, it's very uprooting too.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's a thing.
Yeah. I try not to really like I don't put I don't put any of my stuff on my Facebook because of the amount of people that are on there. I don't put any, like, I don't share the link to my podcast or anything, and none of my shorts, anything on Facebook, because I know that it could be really traumatic for some people. And, recently I had somebody close to me that is just now really getting, like, she's just now, she's like 20, her early 20s. And we went to visit her, and she had found this preacher on TV that she really liked, that she really connected with, and like she, I could see like she's kind of growing up and trying to find her own. So when I saw the other day that she had started following me on TikTok, I was like, hey, get off of there. Like, do not watch any of my TikTok videos, like, because I don't want her, like, she's just now like trying finding her way, and this is the first time I've ever talked to her that she sounded, kind of like mature and kind of growing up. And I just felt like, okay, if she's good where she's at right now, I don't want to shake that. I don't want to interfere with that. And I was just like, don't, like, this is not what you want, where you want to be. This is not a space you want to be in. Like, I feel like I'm here for people who are already questioning or already deconstructing, to let them know that they're not by themselves. That's who I'm here for. I'm not here to try to get Christians to deconvert. Like, that's not why I'm here. So yeah, so I tell some people, don't even. They're like, "Oh, you got a podcast on it?" No, I don't get on there. Don't do that.
Don't come in here.
Yeah,
Don't do it.
don't do that. Yeah,
Gotta get up out of there. Don't do that.
yeah, yeah, get up out of here. Yeah, don't
For
do
real.
that. So, let's see. What do you see going forward that you want to do? You want to do anything beyond the TikToks?
Beyond the TikToks. Um, One, future aspirations. I would love to kind of write a book about this journey. Because kind of getting a lot of those thoughts and a lot of things out of your head on paper
Yeah.
um, is very organizing. right? So you can kind of organize those thoughts. You can kind of um, make it digestible for people. And of course, it's 2025, so we live in a world where we can all make history, right, and
Mm-hmm.
make our mark on the world, um, and have a legacy of something, right? You
Mm-hmm.
can use your creative skills, and this is purpose. This is how we create purpose from the things we have, the things we see, necessities,
Mm-hmm.
that sense of well-being to use those creative things, get those
Mm-hmm.
juices flowing, get the energy
Right.
going, get out in the world, make an impact, and help the person next to you and create that picture of reality and how the world really works for the generations coming behind us. Not just our
Mm-hmm.
kids, but little brothers and sisters, cousins, people around the world that, um, again, we interact internationally on these platforms. So
Yeah.
just being a voice in the world and not being silenced. I think
Mm-hmm.
for a lot of us, that is a real thing. Like we have been like silent for so long. A lot of us have even forgotten how to pronounce, right,
Mm-hmm.
ourselves,
Yeah.
how to communicate ourselves to the world,
Mm-hmm.
um, in a way that is unique to us,
Yeah.
right? So,
Yeah, I get that. Um, I know I struggle, and one of the reasons why I chose to do interviews instead of just doing a podcast by myself is because, like, I just have difficulty just being able to just talk to the screen and express my thoughts. Like for me, it's just easier having a conversation than just having a monologue, just looking at the camera. So that's why I chose to do interviews.
I mean, you're doing a great job, much more settled in than me. You seem very comfortable. Well,
No, you're good. You're good. I appreciate that though. Yeah. I mean, I've done several so far. I started in November. I've done a lot since then. I've done quite a few. And I find that my biggest issue is editing because this is now going to be 4 interviews that I still haven't edited once I get done today. so, so that's my issue. I'm gonna have to find an editor because that's the thing that takes me the longest. I could sit and talk. I could book an interview every day and sit and talk, but I know that I got to edit it later. And some require a lot of editing, and some don't. Like this one, I don't think will require a lot of editing, but some, sometimes me or the guest may discuss things that we really didn't want to discuss on camera. So then that has to be edited out, and then sometimes it's technical issues and things, people freezing up or glitching. Or I had one day I had my whole electric went out while I was doing an interview, and it's just for like a second, just long enough to knock me off. So like that kind of stuff happens that have to be edited out. So,
yeah.
but
Well,
I
hopefully it's
enjoy it
not too
though.
much of a
Yeah,
task.
yeah. Some are, and some aren't. So, so what in what ways do you feel like you have experienced personal growth throughout this deconstruction process?
um, Personal growth for me, I love getting information. So, and just learning new things. So I feel like
Mm-hmm.
I have um learned a lot of impactful information um that I can use to help other people.
Mm-hmm.
I have um, in a community now of,
Yep.
I guess you can call it a deconstruction community, but
Mm-hmm.
we discuss and deconstruct a lot of other things. Um, Misogynistic mindsets, uh,
Mm-hmm.
different things like that, where we have those conversations just to help us be better all around people.
Mm-hmm.
So that again, we can reach to the next person and help them. We can reach out to somebody and receive help.
Yeah.
So personally, for me, being in the community has given me a space to speak, right, and help me provide a space for other people to speak.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Along with that is the lack or the dissipation of this cloud. I feel like it was this dark cloud of this hell, right? And
Mm-hmm.
I think that was a big thing for me and for a lot of other people without actually realizing it. So I don't
Yeah.
walk around with that fear of hell. And I think
Mm-hmm.
that's what is so um what's the word I want to use? Is very challenging for people when you don't have that fear of hell. So for me personally, I like not having that fear,
Yeah.
right? In conjunction
Yeah.
with that, I gave up, this love for heaven too. But I'm okay with
Right.
that
Mm-hmm.
because if I can't have both of them being true, then I don't need any of them.
Mm-hmm.
So, um, for me personally, that was a personal growth, being able to just relax in life.
Yeah, it's very
Just
liberating.
yeah, I feel very free right now, very free.
Mm-hmm.
Um, personal growth. I make decisions more so based on my own um interpretation of the world, and
Mm-hmm.
I can regulate that better when it comes from me versus adhering to some ridiculous rhetoric
Yeah.
that comes out of a book that was written 3,000 some odd years ago.
Yeah.
Um, and it's not connected, and I don't have to, censor it or filter out all
Mm-hmm.
of the bad things to make it make sense, right? Um,
Yeah.
so just my personal journey, like you said, is liberating. It's liberating,
Mm-hmm.
it's encouraging, um,
Yeah.
and I'm loving it.
Yeah, man. It's so much freedom. I feel so free. And the thing is, people, the people that say that you left religion just so you could sin, and it's like, I mean, I don't do anything different. I don't actually do anything different now than I did when I was a Christian. Like, I'm not out here doing horrible things just because I'm not afraid of hell. I'm still the same person, and you know, it's weird to think that you have to have a fear of hell. Like, you have to have a fear of hell just to make you be a good person. Like, that's weird. Like, it don't make sense. But that's what a lot of people think. Like,
It doesn't. And you're absolutely correct about that because we have these conversations a lot. And people will ask that question like, well, if you don't believe in Christianity, what do you do now? Where do you get your purpose from? I create it.
yeah,
I create it every day and I make sure that it's productive for the society that I live in,
yep,
right? Where do you get your morality from? From the people around me, right? If I see somebody in pain, I should help them. If I was the
mm-hmm,
person that hurt them, then I should apologize
mm-hmm,
and seek their forgiveness. I don't need a God to do that.
yeah,
We should all, right, do things that help our well-being as a society.
mm-hmm,
Um, and I think many people have tied their belief in God to their responsibility to be a good person,
yeah,
right? Just because you don't believe in God or Christianity, that doesn't relieve you of your responsibility to
mm-hmm,
be positively impactful in the world.
yeah,
Okay, you still can't go out there slapping people just because you get upset, right? Can't go out here doing heinous things to people. You still have the responsibility to uphold that integrity,
yeah.
right?
And
I
how
don't
many,
have any intentions of being harmful.
yeah, and how many preachers are in the pulpit with no integrity? you know,
Yeah,
Sleeping with the women in the congregation and all kinds of stuff. And so whether you're in there, the only difference is, you know, they think that when they do bad things that they got Jesus that wiped the slate clean and they're still going to go, to heaven or whatever. But at the end of the day, well, I don't know where I was going with that, but basically, you can do good, you can do bad whether you're in the church or whether you're out of the church. And you can do good whether you're in the church or out of the church. I mean, either way, like we're people still going to be people and do what people do regardless. And they think that just because we're not in the church, that now all of a sudden we're going to be these horrible people. Where you already got horrible people that are people doing horrible things in the church as well. So why are you looking at us? Why are you looking and judging us when your preacher's doing the things that he's doing? Some of them. So
right.
yeah, I remember when I was in my early 20s, and I was living with my grandmother at the time, and this preacher was calling me on the phone at my grandmother's house. And my grandmother was like, "Why is he calling you?" And like, this is an old man, like grown. and he was already sleeping with one of the women in the church, and I knew it, and everybody knew it, and his wife probably knew it, and and then he was calling me on the phone. I was probably 20 years old, and he's calling me on the phone. Like my grandma's like, why is he calling me? Like I'm like, I don't know why he's calling me. I mean, I knew why he was calling me, but I wasn't entertaining it. Like he was old.
Like, bro, are you okay? Seriously.
Yeah, crazy stuff, man. Just crazy. So, but yeah, I feel like, that now that I'm not there, like I just have the freedom to be me. But yet I'm still very active in my community and helping. I had just had a conversation with somebody, um, that is in the church, and they're feeling, um, they feel they're aggravated because they're the kind of person that likes to do and likes to be involved, and they don't feel like that they're the members of their church are doing anything. They feel like they're just talking and they're not doing anything, and that's causing this person frustration because they are a doer and they do. And I had to tell them, like, okay, well, maybe you need to stop looking. Maybe you need to look outside those four walls if you want to find people that want to do and help and be charitable. Maybe you're not looking far and wide enough. You're just basing. You're just doing. You're just looking inside this church. You get outside the church and you'll find people that still want to help, that still want to be community activists, that still want to do things. Just because they're not Christians and not in the church doesn't mean that they're not good people that want to do good things. And I just had this conversation yesterday, and like, dude, you don't have to do that. You don't have to just stay within the church to find people to help. Stop being frustrated and look outside those walls. So
Big facts.
yeah.
Big
My son
facts.
and I would like to start something. We don't know what that something is, but we want to, do something that, because a lot of times I've been experienced people, uh, like we feed the homeless. I'm part of an organization that feeds the homeless, and we've had some people in there that have said, you know, like they do a lesson on Saturday night. Well, we got to feed them last, because if we feed them first, they're not going to stay for the lesson. And it's like, if they're hungry, why can't you just feed them? Why they got to stay for the lesson? If they don't want to have the lesson, then just give them the food and let them go on about their business. And I got so frustrated with that. And that's one of the reasons why I left. You know, I'm still involved with the organization, but I'm not on the board of the organization because, I was like, I'm not gonna, I don't feel like I should still be on this board because I'm not a Christian anymore, but I still want to help as long as you'll let me help. So I still help and I'm still involved, but I'm not on the board. I'm not the one making decisions and whatnot. But yeah, I would get so frustrated with that. Like, just give them food, and it's like, well, it's the same people. I've been doing this for 3 years, and it's the same people coming to get food, and I don't feel like we're affecting their lives and whatnot. And it's like, these folks, if they want to change, they'll change. You giving them Jesus is not going to make them change. Give them the food and let them go on about their business. If they're hungry, feed them and let them go do what they're going to do. And it was frustrating for me. It was very frustrating for me. So, yeah.
Yeah. Very frustrating. Very frustrating. It's almost like
Hmm.
a bargain deal, right? It's like, I'll give you food, but you gotta listen to me talk about God,
Yeah.
right? Now, for me personally, I don't think that that's how that's supposed to work,
Yeah.
right? Um, the gift should be so good, right?
Hmm.
That it's unnecessary to bribe people with it.
Hmm.
The gift should sell itself, especially when we're
Hmm.
talking about a God or a belief system. You shouldn't have to hold people almost hostage
Yeah.
to force feed them religion.
Yeah. Yeah.
It- That's crazy to me. And I've seen it too. Definitely in church, I've done food, giveaways,
Hmm.
different things like that, where you got to come and sit in the sermon. Um, and people will do that for, They'll sit there, but that
Mhm.
doesn't change a person. That doesn't
Right.
give them something that they're missing. It doesn't fill the void,
Mhm.
right? The only way to fill that void is to feed people actually true things that work, things
Yeah.
that they can actually use, something they can actually get up in the world and do.
Yeah.
That's what keeps people coming back. You
Mhm.
don't have to sell that. That sells itself because I'm
Mhm.
always going to come back to something that works. That's the problem for me that I ran into eventually, right? As I started to deconstruct, right?
Mhm.
The results never match the request, right? There's
Mhm.
some things you can say, well, I prayed for this and I got it, right? But literally, what you're doing in that situation is, right? It's like shooting an arrow.
Yeah.
Um, wherever the arrow hits, you go and you paint a bullseye sign around it and say, "Look, we got it right on point." Right?
Mhm.
That's not the way that works. And
Yeah.
I love that analogy. One of my favorite people in the community is Fee. I think her name is Nefertiti. Right now,
Mhm.
I stole that analogy from her, by the way.
Mhm.
Absolutely amazing. Seriously,
Yeah.
she's something else.
Yeah. I like
Um,
it. I like to listen to her talk.
yeah, yeah, she's very
Yeah.
therapeutic.
Yeah.
But I got that from her, and it made so much sense because that's literally what's happening. People will say, "I prayed for this, and I got, you know, a pack of diapers or something," or I think somebody said they found a bus card at McDonald's one time or something like that.
Mhm. Mhm.
That's not the way me asking for something works, right?
Right.
If you give it to me, like if we could pray for something and it happened right there, then we can verify that this thing is working. But we
That's right.
can't have a bunch of random stuff, just kind of intersecting in life and then calling it answers to prayers. It's
Yeah.
not the way that works.
Yeah. Right.
So yeah,
I mean, in the Old Testament, when they prayed for manna from heaven, they got it. It came. When they prayed for it, they got it. Why can't we have pray for manna from heaven now to feed all these homeless people? Why do we have to do it instead of the God doing it? Why isn't he raining down food for these people that are hungry? His people.
yeah.
So
Elijah called fire down from heaven, right? To prove
yeah,
that his God was the right God. The
yeah.
the more technology you have, the less you see a God because we can explain these things and we can
Mm-hmm.
replicate them. Now you're not going
Mm-hmm.
to be able to replicate fire raining down out of the sky. That would be
Right.
amazing. Give me that. Okay, give me that. But
Yeah.
when you see stuff, and for me, that's a question for Christians that I ask, right? In an earlier time period when God was actually there, right?
Mm-hmm.
He was actually there, showing up, doing miracles,
Mm-hmm.
presence available on point. Here
Mm-hmm.
we are further away from the beginning of creation, but we have less God,
Yeah.
less the presence of God, and there's all of these excuses as far
Mm-hmm.
as why it's not happening, right?
Mm-hmm.
The more excuses you have, the more disbelief you're going to have.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that timeline and that distance from the beginning to where we are now is not doing Christianity or any other belief systems any favors.
No, not at all. Not at all.
Any favors. Like,
Hmm. And when you look at the Bible, when the Old Testament, we see all these times, when the Lord spoke, when God spoke, thus saith the Lord, and this, and that, other. But do you realize that in the New Testament, God doesn't speak? The only time God spoke in the New Testament is when Jesus was baptized and he said something. Supposedly he said something then. But other than that, you don't see anything in the New Testament where God said this or God said that. It's like, where's he at? Why isn't he speaking? Why isn't he doing anything? He's not. He doesn't do anything in the New Testament. Nothing.
man. And I think that's such a damaging point for Christianity because, of course, between the New Testament and Old Testament, I think it's like a 400-year gap. So
Hmm.
you have these writings, and then it cuts off. 400 years later, you have n- a new set of writings that starts, and
Yeah.
now you have this usurp of Christians
Mhm.
that they've taken from ancient Jews, plugged in a Messiah
Mhm.
that ancient Jews didn't believe in
Mhm.
because it's more holistic for that time period. And then you
Yeah.
see this Jesus narrative and all this other,
Mhm.
stuff. Paul writing letters to, the Romans and,
Yeah.
different things like that. And I think that is not good for Christianity
Mm-mm.
because you no longer have this God factor where God is doing things, He's speaking. You literally start to see the narrative in the writing, and all you have is stuff from people because
Yeah.
that's the only place you were getting it from in the first place.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
And you got Jesus, and then you got Paul coming in and doing away with everything that Jesus said, saying the
yeah, but
opposite of what Jesus said. So, I joke about that all the time. It's like, are you serving Jesus or you serving Paul? Like, you, which is it? Because Jesus came for the lost sheep of Israel. If you're not an Israelite, then why are you serving Jesus? Where's that coming from? And but Christians don't see that. Then they want to go to what Paul said. Well, why do you believe what Paul said? Just because he said that Jesus came to him, you know, as a spirit? Why do you believe that? Like, I'm so tired of believing lies that don't make sense at all, just because it's in a book.
yeah, because it
Yeah,
was written. And I ask that question all the time, right? Just because something is written down, does that make it true? It doesn't.
yeah. Mm-mm,
The number of people who believe something doesn't make it true, right?
mm-mm,
The actual facts of can it be validated,
mm-hmm.
right? That's what makes it true. All of the supernatural claims require supernatural evidence.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Yeah,
extreme claims require extreme evidence
yeah.
or extraordinary evidence, right? We need
Mm-hmm.
that. Other than that, they will be outside of our line of logic to believe it.
Mm-hmm.
S- So that is like you said, you have these different narratives. Paul disagreeing with Jesus, how to be saved, the application of the Jewish law,
Mm-hmm.
um, the development of Jesus, you know, in which I think I agree with the second century development of
Yeah,
Jesus because this is why you don't have a Messiah in the Old
yeah,
Testament.
yeah,
Um, God doesn't speak anymore. All of a sudden, God is good. He's no longer human sacrifice, hitting kids
yeah.
over the head. Keep all the virgins for yourselves, right? It's slaves obey
Yeah,
your masters.
yeah,
Uh, pick up your cross and follow me. Hate everybody else, right? I absolutely think that that is a um like a Greek Roman type of construct, which is why you
yes,
see the matching narratives from Greek mythology, right? The virgin birth,
yes.
that's not original to Christianity. Um,
Mm-hmm.
coming back from the dead, that's not original to Christianity. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so just all of those type of things, I think there's more evidence that is borrowed
Mm-hmm.
from those belief systems, and I can more so see it being accepted as a religion later in the the Roman years as
Mm-hmm.
they kind of start to come because it just kind of includes everybody, um, and then you see a power structure right within the church that kind of gets people controlled even in that
Mm-hmm.
time. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, like
Yeah. Yeah, and you mentioned that because just because so many people believe it, that doesn't make it true. Well, you know, I always say where you're born is going to determine what religion you believe in. So we're born here, so Christianity is the main religion here. But if you're born in other countries, you're going to be having a different God and a different religion. So your religion is going to be based on your location on the map, basically. And with Christianity, the only reason why it's so prevalent is because of all of the bloodshed and killing and forced conversion is the only reason why Christianity is prevalent anyway.
hmm the
Yeah,
Crusades,
yeah.
all of those things that drove Christianity, the vessel
Mhm.
for that message, um, the violence that
Mhm.
carried it.
Mm-hmm.
the lies,
Mm-hmm.
the power struggle. All of
Yeah.
these things have served basically as a vessel for Christianity. Rarely do you see something good that was
Mm-hmm.
so good about the belief system that people were just naturally drawn to it.
Yeah.
I haven't seen that.
Mm-mm.
The promise of an afterlife, eh, right? That serves as a control tool. It's not something that you'll get now. That's just like a promise for
Yeah.
later on.
Yeah.
Um, a lot of people ask, um, well, if it wasn't true, why would so many people, right, during that time frame believe it? Um, and for me personally, that answer would be when you kind of look at that Roman rule, and the Greek mythology belief system, it was an explosion
Mm-hmm.
of creative art, right?
Yeah.
And writings and different things like that. And for Rome, particularly, I think this was a more inclusive way to get all of the people,
Yeah.
right? Nice and docile, right?
Yeah.
You give 'em something that can work for everybody, and you don't have this Jewish Roman struggle, um, that is a point of contention for them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, it's like I said, none of the evidence helps Christianity.
Mm-mm. It
Um,
doesn't. You just got
from
to take the time and look at, take the time and research. But you're not supposed to question God, and you're not supposed to, it's not what you're supposed to do.
right,
You
you're not
know,
supposed to ask questions.
you
Don't
can't
ask
ask
questions.
questions. Don't ask questions. Yeah. So what would do you have any words for anyone else that's going through this deconstruction process?
Um, for me, my personal words, um, I know that deconstructing is again a very jarring process. It's very uprooting, right? But there is a place where you have to be bold enough to ask the questions. And for many of us, um, okay, we have to get up off of our knees, stand on your feet,
Hmm.
okay, and do what's right now because you should,
Yeah.
not because you have to, not because somebody has promised you something in the afterlife, but do it right now because you can and you
Hmm.
should. So that is like my words that would help encourage somebody. You do have to be bold enough. You do have
Yeah.
to have a Spartan mindset that allows you to question things without fear. You got
Yeah.
to put your fear down and say, you know what? Even if somebody sends me to hell, child sacrifice isn't good for this society.
Hmm.
Blindly believing things isn't good for our society.
Hmm.
Um, Stoning people isn't good for our society, right? You have to come to that point where you are not afraid, so afraid of getting it wrong that you can get it right now.
Yeah.
So hopefully that
Yeah.
made sense. But
Yeah.
those
Absolutely.
things I say.
Yeah. That's good. That's good. I've enjoyed our conversation today, and hopefully we can do it again sometime. Hopefully, maybe I can jump on your live. Maybe I'll catch your live sometime next time you do one.
Again, it's very sporadic. I can't let
Very
y'all know my
soon.
next one, but I'm gonna try to get some consistency going as far as going live because I like doing it, and we do have good conversations.
Yeah.
And again, it's not so much of a debate stage for me. It's more like a
Right.
mental health check-in. Like I said, I like
Yeah.
to check everybody's head spaces, and just make sure we're in a good space as a community
Hmm.
that's providing this information, um, and opening up this, this platform for
Hmm.
people to be able to ask these questions, um, and get answers.
Yeah.
Um, so
I
yeah,
think
you're
I would like to
definitely
do
more than
something
welcome.
more like that. I think I don't like to debate. I'm not a debater. I think I would enjoy something more like that as well. But I have a Mac computer, so I can't do the live on my computer. Um, and I'm still trying to figure out how to set all that up, like the way they have it set up, where you can request up and like all of that. I can't do that on my computer because you can't on the Mac. You can't download the TikTok Live Studio. So yeah, I want to do lives. I just haven't figured out how to go about it yet. So I
You
just
should. I do it on my phone mostly.
yeah.
Like I do it on my
So on
phone.
your when you do it on your phone, do people have the ability? Is it set up the same way? What was that? Do you see
I did. I'm on my see. I'm on
that?
my phone, so it's like it does different. I mean, you know how iPhones work.
Okay. Hey, I didn't know that. I didn't know. I've never done that. Okay, cool. But yeah, so on your when you do your lives, do you have the ability to set it up to where you can request up and everything like when you do it on your phone? Like it's the same thing?
It's the same thing. So I normally will have a pretty full panel
Hmm.
most of the time when I go live. It's not necessarily a big stage. I
Hmm.
make it 100 people, 50 people,
Yeah.
sometimes, but
Well,
I like the
that's,
small room because we have some of those emotional stories that we
hmm.
share that put people in a vulnerable space.
Yeah.
It's hard to talk about or sharing experiences that they don't want to look back at.
Yeah.
Um, Shadow work that we don't want to do.
Hmm.
And it's okay. And sometimes we laugh and have fun, but there's also a space to deconstruct,
Yeah.
to be honest about your experiences. Say, yes, that happened to me. Um, I hate that it happened. I'm still not okay with it, but I'm not going to let it prevent me again from my responsibility to move forward in life and be a great person and be
Hmm.
a positive impact on the people around me, my kids, my family, my coworkers, my acquaintances. Um,
Yeah.
just to be able to say that. So
Hmm.
I do encourage people to get therapy if they need therapy. See a therapist if you need to. But I'm
Hmm.
also an advocate for all of those other spaces in your life being therapeutic. Whether
Hmm.
you're a painter, a writer, you're a gym person, whatever it is that you do, that's therapy. Being in the
Yeah.
community, connecting with different people. If you don't have a conversation with me, you can meet somebody else in the community that you might be
Right.
cool with. You can have a personal conversation with. You can DM me or message me to, be able to say, hey, I just don't know where I'm at with this thing.
Yeah.
And we can have a conversation
Yeah.
and go from there. So
I
everything
like
is
that.
therapy in my eyes.
Hmm.
It's all
Hmm.
therapy. Right.
Yeah. I like that. Okay. I like that. Because
So
like I
yeah.
said, because I spend so much time, in those other lives, I'm just like, I want to go live, but like this ain't it. Like this is not where I feel comfortable. I'm not a debater. I don't want to debate, but I like the direction that you're coming from. I really like that. I think that's more my speed. Like, um, it's just like I said, just want to help people that are going through the process that might feel alone. Thankfully, I haven't had to go through it by myself. I do have, a couple other family members that have deconstructed as well. So I have people close to me that I can talk to, and we can, that we've had conversations and kind of bounce things off of each other. Like, well, what do you think about this, and how do you feel about that? And well, when the Bible says this, so I'm not by myself, but there's a lot of people that are going through it by themselves, and I just want to encourage them and be there for those people so they're not feeling alone and isolated. Yeah,
Yeah. I agree. I don't have
yeah,
people in my life who I can have these conversations with outside of the online community. So it's not
yeah,
like I can go to a cousin or, my mom or dad, and have
hmm,
these conversations. So I rely heavily on the community for this space to
hmm,
be able to deconstruct. Uh,
hmm,
and I love our community, right?
yeah,
But again, I rely heavily on the community.
yeah,
Um, that space with Thinker and Bash and Justin and just a number of other people
hmm,
um
hmm,
that have created this wave
yeah,
for us to be able to ride.
yeah,
So I love them for that. But again, I don't. There's nobody personally in my life who I can go to because I would get the side eye, I would get the finger
Yeah.
point, I would get the shun. He's the
Yeah.
demon working through him. It's the devil. They're going to condemn
Yeah.
you. Okay,
Yeah.
that's exactly what's gonna happen. I'm okay
Mhm.
with it.
Mhm.
Um, I'm
I
not
am
gonna
too.
judge them. I get it. You
Yeah. We
scared,
we were
you
there. Yeah.
confused. So
Yeah.
it's like,
Yeah. Yeah. Like I said, I was that person at one time. I was there. I get it. I totally get it. Um, I'm not upset with those people, and I understand where they're coming from. So yeah, I haven't really had any backlash. People talk. I mean, I haven't had any community backlash. I know people talk, but nobody says anything to me. Nobody has approached me or said anything out of the way to me, or haven't had any so far any negative comments on any of my posts on TikTok or YouTube or anything like that. So far so good, but you know, I'm sure it'll come eventually.
yeah.
Um, yeah.
But I
So
do debate though. Like I go into
yeah. I
debate
mean, I've heard you.
lives on TikTok
I've heard you.
all the
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
I am a point of contention. Okay, understand me?
Yeah. Yeah.
But in real life, in some it's some family members that I just don't want to debate because
Right.
first of all, that's not going to be good for them. Okay, I don't want to destroy this
Yeah.
illusion of reality that you built up
Right.
because
Right.
debating with me at this point ain't nothing nice. Okay,
Yeah.
ain't
Right.
nothing nice. If we really start to get into it, I know a lot of the debates get like surface level, and
Mhm.
on TikTok you can kind of mute people and depend if I'm
Mhm.
in a deconstruction space, that's my safe space. I'm on home field.
Yeah.
If I go into
Yeah.
a Christian space, they have home field advantage. And I play by those
Right.
rules.
Right.
Um, and a lot of different narratives and people in the comments and stuff flying around, and I'm okay with that.
Mhm.
Let's
Mhm.
get to it, okay?
Yeah.
Because you're gonna get this work, all right? And I think that's why a lot of them do allow me in this space because I think I do
Yeah.
have good questions, but I also come from a genuine place of
Mhm.
questioning that belief system.
Mhm.
But in real life, you don't have mute buttons,
Yeah.
right? You don't have, you know, a camera and a wall in between you.
Mhm.
So all you have is pressure.
Yeah.
That's all you're gonna get is this pressure. It ain't no way for you to get up out of there. Ain't no way for you to get up out of there. Okay? You're gonna get this work.
You gotta get all that.
Okay? It is. And I ain't even gonna lie to you. I do have some family members that listen, I rule the day. I can't wait for you to pull it.
Open
I
that door.
cannot wait.
I'm coming through it.
I'm not gonna open the door and I'm gonna try
Yeah.
my
When I'm
best to
saying
keep
when
it
they
closed.
open that door. Yeah. When they open
But
the door, you coming through.
if you
Yeah.
do, if you do, okay, if you post this interview and they see it, okay, they're gonna know. Well, they ain't gonna know, but they'll know if we ever have that debate. I was talking about you. And everybody know I don't hold no punches. Okay, I don't bar none. I back
Yeah.
down from no one, and that's just the way I rock. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
that's what it is. Let's get the
Okay.
energy going. Okay, but I'm gonna get off my soapbox right
Well, like I said, I've enjoyed talking to you. It's been a good conversation, and I will. I will definitely tag your TikTok and anything else that I'll get that information from you and have those tags on here in the description and whatnot, so people can come and check out your lives and your TikTok and whatnot.
there. Yeah, yeah.
So
I'll post it on any other platform. I won't post it on Facebook though because, like
right,
you said, I have so many people like
yeah,
my colleagues, my
yeah,
alumni friends and stuff like
yeah.
that. I'm just not ready for that. You know
Me
what I'm saying?
neither. Me neither.
Listen,
That's,
I went to HBCU,
uh huh.
so
Yeah.
in Alabama.
Oh wow. Yeah. Yeah.
So we was
For
all
sure.
about convocations and
Mhm.
church and the
Mhm.
Underground Railroad. So I'm not ready for that from them.
Yeah.
I'm not ready.
Um. I created a private group on Facebook not too long ago. I created this private group. It was supposed to be completely private. You weren't supposed to be able to get in there without answering these questions and agreeing to these rules. And like within a day or two, there were all these Christians in there that had not answered the questions or anything. And the name of the group was what is it? Something faith. Um I can't remember what it was, but the word faith was in there. And so all these Christians probably thought that I was going to be talking about Jesus because they know me and they know me as a teacher and whatnot. And they probably thought they were coming in there to get a good word. And I was just like, get out of here. Why are you, how did you get here? So I just deleted the whole group. Like I was like, I tried and it didn't work. So I was like, I'm just not gonna share anything on Facebook anymore because it just didn't work out.
Yeah, yeah. Facebook is not. I'm not ready for Facebook yet. If I'm being honest, like
I'm not either. I'm not either. I mean, I'm sure eventually I will be, but right now I'm really not. I'm really not. So thank you, Rock, for coming on today. I've enjoyed our conversation, and like I said, I will share all your stuff, your TikTok and everything, and maybe one day you come back on and talk with us again.
I would love to. And thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. I think what you're doing is amazing.
Thank
We
you.
need more of this. So let me give you one of these. See if it works.
Yeah.
Hey.
All right. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. And you have a good day. Enjoy your Sunday.
You do the same.
Or the rest of it anyway.